This question, I need to hear about crazy customer encounters. One time I actually like got assaulted by someone, and the crazy part was Hey baddies, it is LB Twink and welcome back to my channel. As you can tell by the girl boss title that today's video is, today we are going to be doing a little get ready with me. You guys are gonna do my makeup with me today. Way back when I started working in Dispensary, I made a get ready with me to bud tend. Now it's been about, I wanna say like 3, maybe almost even 4 actual years since I have made that video. A lot has changed within my work dynamic and work life. It's been a while since I just like talked to you guys and updated you about my work life. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about my job and how I went from being a bud tender to technically an assistant manager. I do be running that shop when I am there. It's like me and a couple other managers and my leads and all my bud tenders. I'm gonna start with telling you guys a little bit about my journey as I beat my mug, and then I did ask you guys over on Instagram to ask me questions. Towards the end of this, we will do a little Q&A about working in a dispensary, the vibes that come along with it, and answer any questions that you guys submitted. If you guys haven't seen me before, my name is Thomas. If you watch this video and you like it, do me a favor, subscribe down below. I post videos weekly and it would mean the world to me if you guys would join the baddie family. I don't know if I can make that a thing. Give it a thumbs up for him while he's being a YouTuber, but let's get into the routine. First things first, my hair is fucking wild. We're gonna put that back. I'm not gonna session today's video because I'm getting ready to go to work. First place I could really start my journey starting to work in a dispensary. It's been over 3 years, but it has not been 4 yet. Started at a dispensary back in 2021 was when I officially started there. How I got the job. To put it quite simply, besties, I applied. That's a question I get asked a lot, is like, how do I break into the industry? Just spruce up your resume. What they look for is people in customer service. Being someone who has helped interview people for jobs in my dispensary, that's one thing we look for, is just like someone who knows how to work with people. I really just submitted a resume online. I ended up getting a call back like very quickly. I would say about within 48 hours after I submitted that. I was submitting applications to literally so many different dispensaries around me here in Long Beach. Out of like the 12 I probably applied to, I really only heard back from 2. It's really just like apply, and hopefully you get lucky enough to at least get an interview. When I first got called into the current dispensary I am now, I actually had gone a couple days prior and interviewed at a different dispensary. They ended up hiring me, but then I went and interviewed at the one I'm currently at, and the vibes were just so much better. And I think that's also something important too. Like, make sure where you're going is somewhere where you want to fit the vibe. When I started at that job, I started out as a bud tender, and that's what I wanted to be. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I never envisioned when going into this job that I was gonna end up so deep into working here. I think that's kind of a part of the reason why I love working there. I had gone from being a bud tender to working up at the front desk. When I got put up at the front desk, I ended up literally falling in love with that position. I felt like I was the face of the dispensary. Overall, I thought it was a vibe. Don't get me wrong, I liked bud tending too. Something about just being the first person, I just felt like people were nicer to me. I was working up at the front desk for a year, was just kind of like trying to get my footing into like adulting, getting my own place. An opportunity eventually came after about almost 2 years of me working there to apply for a lead position. Let me kind of tell you guys how the structure is at the company I work for. And this has definitely changed like over time since I've worked there. You have the bud tenders and the admins, and then you have leads, then you have sales and inventory managers, and then you have a single general manager. Yeah, the opportunity arose for me to interview for a lead position. I went for it. I did this interview with our district manager. I thought I ate, and I ended up not getting the position. At my shop, it's a pretty small team of us at max. There's 15 to 20 people working there, but now we're like down to 10 to 13 people working there. The person who got it is one of my best friends. I was super supportive of her getting it, and very much so. The right time and job for me will come when the right time and job for me come. Maybe I was a little bit disappointed. You know, I'm there to work, and I was still gonna work at the end of the day. And one thing I've always upheld, my work ethic and just attitude towards working, is very positive. Just never really had the most negative outlook. Yeah, none of us want to work. If you're gonna work, like, at least enjoy it. That's my attitude. I was still up at admin, had like a lot of time to do things. At one point I ended up like making a TikTok account for us. Within like a month, had a couple viral TikToks, and it was actually pretty fun to do. After those TikToks went viral and another lead position opened up, they could tell, like, you know, I'm here for the long game. Then I was offered a lead position at my job. This is also too my first time managing a group of people. I want to say I was a lead lead for about a year. I want to learn to do my job very well. I always apply myself towards any goal that I have. I try to do my best. That's all we can do. That's kind of something I want to say if you were thinking about working in dispensary and you want to see yourself there long term. Always do your best, try your hardest to do your best. And if you mess up, you know what? Own up to it. I've always been someone to own up to my mistakes when I do make mistakes, and I think that goes a pretty long way in this industry, considering what the industry came from. Eventually, down the line, the opportunity to go and help train and open up a store came about, and that's when I went to Fresno for the first time. Now, this was the beginning of 2024, so this wasn't even that long ago, just about a year ago. When I went to go help open up that store, I knew that when I was going to do that, I was gonna have to work extra hard. It was an opportunity. I was gonna be out there with my district managers, with other managers, just try my hardest to do a good job. That's exactly what I did when I went and busted my ass. All of us who went really busted our ass out there. I made sure that I was on my best behavior. When I came home from Fresno, I ended up getting asked to come back out and help train at a different store in the Central Valley, which I went, and I went out there for another 3 weeks. After I had done that, I was like, hey, you know what? I'm traveling with this company now. I want to get to the next place. I never really saw myself, you know, moving further. When I came home from the second trip, I went to my sales manager at the time, talked to her, and was like, hey, I want to learn everything you're doing, because eventually when the opportunity arises, I want to be ready to interview and be like, I could go and do this. I had spent those next couple months learning everything that my sales manager was doing. I've always been more intrigued in the sales because you get to play more with numbers, and that's more of like being on the floor, kind of bud tending adjacent. I would say the sales manager focuses more on that versus the inventory manager would focus more on inventory. I would use any free time when we had time together to learn what she was doing, how to pull the reports she was pulling, asking her as many questions as I could possibly think of. After a couple months of training with this manager, that manager actually ended up moving away. So they opened up interviews for a sales manager position. Long story short, I did that interview and I killed it. It's something I really wanted, and I made sure to express that to them. I want to be in this position and I want to do a good job. I'm here to play the long game. I want to do this. I'm not really the best at interviews, and like, it was kind of scary. That's kind of how I got to where I am today. The company is restructured a bit right now, and I'm more kind of an assistant manager now, and as of lately we've been getting busier. The store is going better. Every so often I get opportunities to go out and travel and do more trainings. It's really fun, and I get to do fun little side quests with them. That's kind of where I'm at with my journey and working in cannabis. Now I feel like I could start answering some of your guys' questions. If you guys ever want to participate, I love doing Q&As, and make sure you follow me on Instagram. I'm pretty active on my stories there, and I'm always sharing my day-to-day life. I would love to see you guys come and participate. This is one of the most common questions that I get, and it comes from Flyboy1498. Hey dude, what is the best way to get started in the industry? My best piece of advice for someone wanting to get into the cannabis industry is to apply. Really, you don't need any prior experience with cannabis to apply for this job, because when you really think about it, it's really just a retail kind of job. It's a really different kind of retail environment because, of course, there's like compliance, there's like laws and stuff that like you do have to learn going into dispensary. A lot of them will already teach you. Don't apply to just one place. Apply to literally every dispensary that you can imagine yourself being in. Really emphasize that you have customer service experience. This next question comes from Adrian.Rod. What's your favorite part about your job? I work for a company that actually cares about me as a person. They've invested a lot of time into me, as I have to them, of course, but I could tell that they actually care about me. And I think a really big part about my job that I really like is that I've gotten to meet a lot of people who I'm actually really close with, even outside of work, who I see on a pretty regular basis. Beyond that, for the company itself, one of my favorite parts about being there, we always get to do cool side quests. So like, yeah, I go on these work trips. But last summer, I was posted up at a festival plugging the dispensary, like we had a booth and everything. I sat there rolling joints for people all day. There's cool opportunities within the dispensary. I don't know if every single company is like this, but we do a lot of community work, and I always participate in that community work. And I mean, the most that I can give back in this day and age is my time, and I get to do that a lot through this job. I would say that's my favorite part, and you know, I love being around weed. I've always wanted to be around weed. Since I was a teenager, this all kind of lines up. This next question comes from WeedFairy420. Any interview tips for an entry-level bud tender position? Also, any pros and cons to the industry? Tip 1. don't come to your interview high. Just don't do it. Working in the weed industry, like, we're weed friendly, but at the end of the day, it's a business. So like, treat it like a business. Treat it like any other job interview you're going to. Wear a cute fit. Not saying you have to come in dress pants, look like you're actually like trying and that you want to work there. Make sure you actually want to work there. I think one of the biggest things I look for, I like people who like to work, want to go there and want to get down to business. Someone who's going to be dedicated, like on time, who's going to show up and who's not going to slack off. Be a vibe. It's all about vibes, guys. When it really comes down to it, like, vibes are important, so have good vibes. Take that however you want to take it. If you really want something bad enough, try hard, make it happen. Is that bad advice? Pros and cons of the industry. That tickled my eye. I'll start with the cons. I would say the biggest cons are like customers, and people can be mean. I love them, do not get me wrong. They have a lot of really great customers, but yeah, you just have to deal with bad customers. And I feel like that's like the worst part of the job, but that's gonna be any other job. When it comes to the pros, I would say number one, the free goodies. You get a lot of free goodies. I'm sure this varies company to company, but at the one I work for, they're pretty generous with like samples. Brands in general are also pretty generous in giving samples to staff just because they do want you to try your products. Benefits too, at least the job I work at, because I do work full time, I do get health benefits. So I have my insurance, vision, and dental through them. You know, you're working with a bunch of potheads in theory, and that's a fun time. Like, everyone is usually a vibe. I've made a lot of like really good friends through this job. Another pro is that the cannabis industry is also a relatively like new industry. As time goes on, you know, it is getting older. There's a lot of companies, if they're playing their cards right, are going to be growing. And if you work for a company that's growing, there's going to be a lot of opportunity to move up. And I also get to be someone who gets to grow within that. Before I answer the next question, I'm gonna go do my eyeliner off camera because I'm a lock-in when I do this. It's always giving sisters, not twins. Let's move on to the next question. This one is from Fairy Babe. How do you balance working with weed and consuming it? My relationship with cannabis has been not like crazy different, but when I was younger, I used to like heavily smoke, like so much. As I've gotten older and I've had more things put onto my plate, smoking to me has always been something recreational. And although, you know, it'd be tempting, I don't like to work while I'm stoned because I feel like it ruins my high. Like, genuinely. There's some people who can function and work off of it, but I've really never had a problem balancing consuming cannabis with working. And I think this all comes down to something a bit more deeper rooted, and that's people's use around cannabis. Because I have a recreational take on it, that's why it's been not that hard to control. Next question is gonna be from Tasty Charms, and they ask, do you feel passion is key for being successful? This is something that would apply to literally anything you're gonna do. If you are not passionate about what you're doing, there's really not that much room for growth with what you're doing. If you really like something and you're gonna want to grow within that, I'm thinking like just in any kind of industry, what you should aim for is something that you are gonna be passionate in. If your passion is weed, let me tell you, you're gonna miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Go out there, apply for a dispensary. Yeah, I do think passion is the key to success in any industry, especially the cannabis one. Speak up about what you're passionate about and what you want to do and where you want to see yourself. And like, sometimes the answer may be no for now, but you never know down the line. And I think it's good to plant seeds. I want to do this, because then they know how to guide you on a more clear path. Honestly, the glam is coming out pretty glammy, I will say. I'm liking the look. I haven't seen myself in makeup in a while, so I'm like, okay, T. Face card not declining today. This question comes from Miss Karen the Carrot, who is also a fellow YouTuber. I need to hear about crazy customer encounters. So one time I actually like got assaulted by someone, and the crazy part was they were like 22. I was baffled that like a 22-year-old assaulted me and threw something at me. This girl came in with her baby daddy and her baby. You can't have a baby in a dispensary. I never thought I would have to say that. My security guard at the time was like, hey, there's a baby in here. Okay, let me come check it out. So I went up to our lobby and I saw the baby, and I told him like, hey, you cannot have the baby in here. He was upset that I told him he couldn't have the baby in there. Instead of just making things easy and leaving, he refused to leave. I had to go back in and I had to tell the woman, we can't have a kid in here. Like, I can't serve you unless the kid is gone. She goes out to the lobby to talk to the baby daddy, comes back in and is like, okay, he's gonna leave, and then is trying to like rush us and like get served. He was just sitting there, hey ma'am, like we cannot serve you until like the baby is gone. And I kind of look, well, he's still sitting there. She ends up like going back to the lobby. I end up walking out there as well. He sees me, calls me the F slur at that. Like I'm leaving and he was going to the parking lot. You can't even wait in the parking lot. Like there's a main street, which is public property, and then the parking lot, which is private property. We can't have the baby on the private property. Like you're gonna have to like wait in the alley, which I hated to say that. And he called me the F slur, so I was like, okay. He goes out and this woman is starting to like yell at me, cursing at me, really disrespectful. Her man just called me like the F slur. You know what, like at this point, like I'm refusing service. I have had to make that call a few times. There's only so much I could put up with. Once it starts getting like homophobic, I can't be doing that. I told her I was gonna refuse her service and she was like, well, someone else is gonna serve me. This is when I was a lead. I told her like, none of us are gonna serve you. She starts arguing with me in the lobby and my security is sitting right there. And mind you, we had pretty bad security. This is not the company I works for fault. It was like literally the security company's fault. I told him that she needed to go. He kind of just let her stand there and work herself in circles. And she just got so worked up that she ended up grabbing the thing nearest to her. It was a pump hand sanitizer bottle, but it was full, so it had some weight to it this far away from me. She chucks it at me. Shit hits me in the pec, literally bounces off, and I catch it in my hand. Gagged. That really upset her. She ended up cursing me out and then leaving. Long story short, the police had to get involved. They asked me if I wanted to press charges. This girl was down bad. I didn't really care. Like we had her ID, all her information. It's a story of how I spared a mom. That is the makeup look. So there's the face card. So now I'm in my work uniform, got my little bedazzled hat, glam done, shirts layered, feeling like a cutie patootie. Yeah. Next one comes from Stoned Little Puppy, and they ask, has working at a dispensary made you question your love for weed or fall in love all over again? I would say it has made me question my love for weed just because I'm constantly surrounded by it. I feel like before in my life, I would very much so like seek out, like when I wanted weed, I would go to a dispensary, and that was always a really fun experience. But now constantly, every day, my life is surrounded by weed. It's interesting because at the end of the day, I'm like so grateful for that because that's what teenager me really wanted, like a life surrounded by weed. And funny enough, I fully manifested that. I think it's very much so a like count your blessings moment. I'm very used to it. Just a different life path than I expected for myself. It's something I'm very passionate about and that I love so very much. A bit of both, I would say. Next one comes from a fellow worker, Miss Mia. She also works for the same company that I do. What's your biggest pet peeve as someone who works in customer service? My biggest pet peeve is when people are mean, but another pet peeve, like if you work in dispensary and someone does this, I will always laugh like when people do this. When someone comes in, hey, what brings you in today? And they're like, huh, weed. If I had $1 for every time I heard that, but like I'm really trying to get to the bottom of like what are you looking for, like, because that answer gives me like you want to browse. If you guys have made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope whether you are thinking you want to work in a dispensary or you want to move up in a dispensary, you found this video helpful in some way. If you guys did enjoy it, please make sure to leave a thumbs up and also make sure you're subscribed to my channel. If you guys ever want to find me on any other socials, I'm at LBTwunk across everything. That's all I got for you guys today. I will catch you guys in another video next week. XOXO, LBTwunk.